pass the microphone and the ball over to Stephen Davis. Stephen Davis is our practice leader for Intelligent Video Surveillance Solutions. We call it IVSS, Intelligent Video Surveillance Solutions. Steve is out of our Colorado office, and I am happy to introduce him to you. Stephen, take it away.
Chris, thank you for the introduction, and we certainly do appreciate everyone joining us here today. Yeah, we're good. Today's topic, does your surveillance system meet today's security challenges? I think the key operative word is today. There's been a significant amount of changes that have gone on just over the last 3 years. The days of being reactive, primarily based on looking at monitors and trying to determine if people are jumping over the back fence, if people are possibly stealing things out of your inventory. And the world and the way it's driven today has caused us to need to be much more proactive. And that's one of the things that we're going to bring out during our discussions here today. And as most of us would know that are listening to this broadcast, there's been a tremendous explosion of video. And it's created tremendous new demands on security teams and as well on IT teams as digital surveillance systems, have converted kind of from the guard shack to the data center. And it's presented new challenges for physical security managers to find ways to store, protect, and manage all of this explosive video that is being captured. And the real key factors here are not just capturing the video, but once you have it, providing extremely fast access to that video, being able to share that high-resolution video with police, with law enforcement, with fusion centers, with other first responders within a community or on a campus. The other key factor here that you're dealing with is ensuring the integrity of the video assets. It's never an issue until you can't pull the video back and make it available. Then there's a problem. And the overall premise here is really to reduce premise negligence, meaning that people expect, people who work at your locations, people who visit your locations, and whether these locations are healthcare and have patients or whether they're commercial locations and have clients, whether they're government locations and have administrative staff, everyone presumes and expects the highest degree of safety, public safety, will be deployed on those campuses. And an overarching driver behind the need to improve our video surveillance systems today are around new compliance mandates. And in many instances, it's requiring people to retain critical video assets for years, not weeks, and in some cases, months and or forever. And so the daily video capture has increased tremendously. Let's go back here. In 2016, it's projected at 600 petabytes a day. We're used to talking about megabytes and gigabytes and terabytes within the data center industry. And now we're talking about petabytes. And it's expected to grow tremendously to almost 1,000 petabytes daily, and there's a number of ways that this is being collected. It's being collected with indoor cameras, it's being collected with outdoor cameras, there's a huge surge in the use of body cameras with law enforcement. And, the drivers behind this, as we spoke about previously here for a moment, was the conversion from analog to digital solutions. It's driving capacity. And then the need for increased coverage. People want to deploy more cameras to make sure that all areas of their facilities and campuses are covered. And then when you look at higher resolutions and recording at faster frame rates and longer retention periods, they're just creating enormous amounts of performance and storage capacity requirements. The updated network infrastructure is something that is also very important with this growth. In many cases, with the analog systems, obviously the cameras are not hanging on the corporate network infrastructure, and so therefore new network capacity, fiber, and higher speed connectivity throughout the campus needs to be deployed to manage all the video and to maintain transfer rates. If we're collecting large amounts of video from hundreds or thousands of high-resolution cameras, that can put a tremendous strain on your network. And in many cases, people are deploying separate VPNs specifically for this purpose, because if we can't transfer the video fast enough and maintain a proper transfer rate, we have issues then in collecting all the frames. And so now we have the kind of typical things that we're used to looking at, the 7-Eleven choppy, the guy running out the door video, and that really causes a problem when we're trying to litigate or mitigate or use this video for other types of purposes. And another interesting thing that we're seeing along with all this change that's gone on in the last 3 years, is that previously security typically owned the surveillance solution. Now it's moving towards IT owning the surveillance infrastructure. Security manages the system, and then public safety sets the policies to mitigate risk. And there's many drivers, things that have happened over the last several years that have caused us, once again, to have to make changes to our surveillance systems, to upgrade our surveillance systems to meet today's needs. A lot of this started back with September 11, the events at the Boston Marathon, events with school shootings, and the concern for premise negligence have really triggered and increased the deployment of sophisticated video systems. And probably the largest driver out of all the bubbles that we're showing here on this slide is in the lower left-hand corner, the conversion from analog to digital formats. It's just like what has happened with our television sets. We've gone from analog to digital. We need better bandwidth to be able to view our favorite shows, our favorite sports events at high resolution. With the phones we carry, the smartphones, with the tablets that we use prolifically, as we travel and in our personal lives and our business lives. So as we convert from analog to digital, which is what's happening in the surveillance industry, we just simply have to do upgrades to the infrastructure and make IT-type decisions around how we're actually going to deploy these systems. One of the greatest areas of impact, and as we look at this industry research done by Frost and Sullivan, is the impact on storage. When we're talking about collecting low-resolution video at slow frame rates, and our retention policies previously in many instances have been quite low, and going to high-resolution 1080p, 15 or even 30 frames per second recording, and needing to store this video longer, either due to business practice or compliance mandates within our vertical industries, it just causes a tremendous amount of growth in capacity, and we need to change how we go about doing business. In many instances, we've been using things like VHS tape for many years, which is just amazing. And I'm sure we've all dealt with VHS tape in our personal life. And then we went to DVDs, and then we went to DVRs, and now we're going to NVRs. And NVRs basically are, JBOD, just a bunch of discs in a recording device that can fill up quite quickly, doesn't scale well, and in many cases we find these devices spread across the campus in multiple locations, and when you want to find video, you have to go search across many different devices to be able to get the video you want, which is slow and causes us to be more reactive than proactive. So it's interesting how the video data explosion has mimicked the big data boom. For those of you who are on this call who have been involved in data centers for many years or around the growth of the big data boom, you know, mobile devices, social media, and corporate data centers fueled a lot of this large growth. Video is presenting the same management challenges and characteristics. And we need to be able to find ways to create more cost-effective solutions to be able to not only store this video, but to quickly search it. It's just like doing backups or archiving data in the data center. Once we've put it somewhere, we have to be able to quickly be able to recover it, pull it back, have it time-stamped so that we can analyze the video, not only to be proactive or reactive to a situation, but also to drive some kind of return on investment. Speaking more specifically to that downstream here. It's now become really a data center solution, as I mentioned previously, in regards to ownership because of all of these cameras. The cameras, if you'll visualize with me for a second, are just like clients. They're like you and I sitting at our laptops or sitting at our desktops in an office environment. Well, now what we've got are cameras that are capturing video, recording video 24/7, driving it towards storage devices, and that's data center. That's where all this video is going to live in the future. So we talked about some of this a little bit previously, and the challenges. You know, disparate systems that are running various applications is something that we see quite often, especially on large campuses with remote sites. A remote site is running ABC application as far as the VMS, and then another remote site is running a separate VMS. Maybe the corporate facility is running a little more modern VMS, and you have the challenges of the video being written under different applications, in many cases with proprietary metadata, and it makes it very difficult to go find that video and properly manage that video, and the ability to share it in a time of crisis. It's one thing when you have plenty of time, you're not under under stress to go search various devices and various applications and find the video and pull it back. But in a time of crisis, we need to be able to share it very quickly with other resources, as we spoke to previously, with first responders being law enforcement, fire, emergency, EMT people, our local campus police. And if there's a lack of having that video in a centralized location, we run into the situation of having to take too much time to find it, if we can even find it. And in many instances, we find that cameras have not been recording to a specific NVR because it is offline or it has reached its capacity and no longer can accept the video feed. So then we get down to a situation of lack of video data integrity. It's just like with our transactional data in the data center. It's very important that the video that we're collecting remains intact, it's unaltered, we don't break chain of custody, and what we expect to get back is there. So difficulty in recovering data, as we say on our last bullet point here, within a needed time frame is a huge, huge issue. So how do we overcome these challenges? To more intelligently manage HD video, to efficiently manage longer retention periods, to improve data integrity, to provide faster access to the stored video assets, and to quickly share video with law enforcement. Well, we believe the answer is intelligent video storage solutions. Intelligent being the key word. We need smarter software. We need software managed storage. We look at today's data center environments, and as Chris was talking about some of our other business practices, we're very skilled at finding better ways to store data and make sure that the integrity of the data is there. And in today's world, the applications that manage data have gotten smarter. So that's why we believe that intelligent solutions are so very important. With these intelligent video management software solutions, you can get more centralized and more granular management of thousands of cameras. Well, why is that important? Well, first of all, the cameras are spread out over a number of buildings, remote sites, across a large campus, indoor, outdoor, assigned to parking garages that can be dark and need infrared cameras. Also, we need to be able to manage cameras independently and manage those cameras in a way that allows us to set resolution and frame rates independently. And then we need scalable storage to eliminate the need for multiple NVRs. And then we need to be able to create secure shared access with administrators and law enforcement. So the ability to have law enforcement have access to certain cameras in high-risk areas allows them to be more proactive and to view what's going on as they are coming to the scene of a crisis. Fast video retrieval plays into that. Of course, the ensured video data integrity that we spoke about. And intelligent solutions are also built around open architecture platforms, meaning that we can integrate with hundreds of third-party applications and various types of hardware. And it's really important if you want to add some of like the analytics software today to be able to do event management, crowd management, to gather trends. It's all part of that proactive movement of understanding your environment campus-wide so that you can be more prepared to react quickly in a time of crisis. And then rules-based alerts. Once again, this is something that in an intelligent VMS software solution, it will allow operators to set alerts. So predetermined thresholds, and some of this ties back to the analytical software. When we reach those thresholds, operators, administrators of the system get sent alerts so that they can be more proactive. So what are benefits of converting expensive video into assets using video analytics and business intelligence? We have a lot of things listed here, and sometimes what we mostly think about in the sense of using a surveillance system is for law enforcement, it's for theft, it's for public safety, and those are certainly important and it's top of the list. But as a corporate manager or a business owner, we need to reduce our liability. We need to protect assets. We need to protect people. We need to reduce risk. We might want to try to lower costs, increase profitability, improve efficiencies. All of these things that you see here are things that now can be done with intelligent video surveillance solutions. So we're talking about ways that will allow you to get a greater return on your investment. So at cStor, what we believe is that we are delivering asset management services around intelligent video storage solutions. We are differentiating ourselves. We are pioneering a new era of video management. And all of this comes from our in-depth experience and proven expertise with storage and leading data center technologies. It's just a bigger problem to solve. When you're dealing with video, it's very large, it's highly capacious, there's a lot of data there to have to manage, and we know how to do that extremely well. So that's the message that we wanted to bring across to our audience here today. We thank you for joining us. We'll open it up to some Q&A, and Kim, I'll pass this back over to you now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. As a reminder, at this time, we will open it for questions. If you have any questions about today's presentation, please post them to the questions pane in your GoToWebinar control panel. And we do have a few coming in. So with that, we'll get going. Question 1. Can we deploy storage remotely at edge sites and still manage from an admin console? Great question, Steve. I think there's a lot of distributed environments there out there. So what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the reason to use edge devices to store video is typically because you don't have the bandwidth necessary to move the video consistently from a remote location to your centralized storage at your corporate offices. So being able to use an MVR of high quality to capture smaller amounts of video at remote locations, and then set up a strategy through your software that allows you to schedule and migrate video back to your central repository in your data center, so that we create that data integrity and centralized accessibility is typically how we do this.
Excellent. Thank you. Next question. There are a few more coming in. I'm just looking at the time, and we've got time for a few more. We're on analog today. How do we go about creating requirements for converting to digital? I think a lot of folks are probably asking that same question.
Yes. Well, to do that, a really good technical site assessment with a team of experts coming on to your campus or your location to do an assessment of how you're handling things today, where you have cameras deployed, how much video you're collecting, what your business processes are, where your risks lie, and simply a good discussion about your network infrastructure and your concerns for what is not working well today is a great starting place. And then being able to look at where additional cameras need to be positioned at your locations. And every camera should have a purpose. You shouldn't just hang cameras to hang cameras. Every camera should have a mission, and different cameras may be at different resolutions. We may use PTZ cameras, we may use fixed dome cameras, you may use infrared cameras for parking lots at night. And so, doing a very thorough assessment, writing a summary, and then having a company like cStor provide you with some recommendations is a great way to get started.
Awesome. A bit of a follow-up that folks may be thinking related to that requirement process, Steve. What is that? Can you elaborate a bit on the timeline for the assessment and kind of the recommendations coming back to a client, just so they have an idea of what that timeline would look like?
Yes. Typically, we spend about 3 hours on an average location to gather information at a high level. Much of that can be done from looking at your existing GMS administrative console to understand how many cameras you have and where those cameras are located. Then a site walk to visually view where your cameras are deployed and where your coverages are, and maybe where you need to add those, and conversation throughout. And then it's, within a week or so, we can write up a summary of what we found and make some recommendations, come back in, sit down face-to-face and talk through that and make an assessment on if our recommendations seem to fit for you. And if so, then we can design a solution and start to work through a budgetary proposal so you can understand the financial requirements associated with deploying a new digital system.
Excellent, thank you. Time for a couple more questions. We've got just 2 more so far. Next question. We want to share video quickly with local law enforcement agencies. Can you elaborate how others are doing that successfully? You spoke a little bit about that, Steve, but maybe dive in a little bit more would be great.
Yes, you know, it's a collaboration of your public safety officer, your IT people, your security people, and local law enforcement. You can, through an intelligent video management software solution, allow and share access to certain cameras. And with some of our clients, they know the high-risk areas. They know certain streets or entrances or areas around their campuses where they are most vulnerable and where incidents seem to occur more repetitiously. And so you can assign access to law enforcement to those specific cameras so that when an incident occurs, they're already prepared to be able, from the time they begin driving to your location, they can, through a mobile client, begin to view what you are seeing as a local security administrator on your campus. And then there's, of course, the ability then to have collaboration by telephone. And this just improves the response time and becomes more of a proactive approach than a reactive approach.
Excellent. And you've definitely made that point early. It's about getting proactive. Agreed. Looks like we have time for one more question coming in, and here it is. Is there a way to integrate our access control and video surveillance system for better coverage?
That's a great question. In many instances, when we're working with clients, we find that if they're still utilizing analog surveillance systems, possibly their access control was installed or deployed at a similar chronological time, and possibly both need to be upgraded. In today's world, access control systems are like surveillance or modern era surveillance systems. They're network-based, they're software-driven, they use more powerful user interfaces, and you can actually tie the access control interface to the BMS interface, and you can set up rules around when people come through doors with your access control system. You may have known that somebody with this badge, whether it was that person's badge or not, or possibly that badge was stolen or a fraudulent badge was created, you know that somebody came through that door. But if you tie in alerts and you tie in video cameras to those doors with metadata, now you not only know through your access control system and reporting system that somebody came through that door, but you visually capture that person, timestamp it, and of course that camera is associated to a very specific location where that door is located, and now you actually have a picture of who that person is. And this becomes very powerful, and you know, one complements the other.
Excellent, thank you. That concludes our Q&A portion of today's event. Thank you,